This is The Litter Box, a Detroit Lions podcast with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson.
Litter Box Lions fans, you got yourself a W this past weekend. We had a little bit of a get healthy game in the nation's capital. Lots of regalia and celebration for the Veterans Day holiday. A few touchdown dances to go along with it, and some debate or controversy over who actually did the play calling in this Lions win. Bill, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, Chet, I do. Great Lions win. And I apologize if anybody's listening to us to make their wagering or listening to us for expertise, because
we didn't do good.
We couldn't have been more wrong. So the over hit, the 8.5 or 7.5 hit, there was nothing that Chet and I could have told you that or shared with you that was any good. But let's talk about the game. The president was in the house. Great Veterans Day celebration. Great win by the Lions. And Chet, Dan Campbell admitted in his press conference he was calling the plays. I don't know why it took Jonathan Vilma and Kenny Alberts 3 quarters to figure it out, but Johnny Moe I think he designed the play sheet, but we saw a bespectacled Dan Campbell with glasses and a play sheet calling the plays for the first time since his first year after he let go Anthony Lynn as the offensive coordinator. So my question to you, Chet, is John Morton one and done here?
I feel like from the day he was hired, he was one and done for one reason or another. I don't think he ever truly excited very many people from the go. People kind of, at least I saw this as, we lost Ben Johnson late in the process. We didn't really have much to choose from for offensive coordinators after that happened. Okay. And what you end up with then is you're scrambling around trying to find a known quantity. John Morton was a known quantity. He had once worked with us, not as an OC, but at a different level. He was the passing game coordinator in Denver and had some success with the rookie Bo Nix. I think this was a fill a gap fast with someone you know, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, move on to somebody else. And I think they're going to be moving on to somebody else because I don't think this is going to work. Even if he's the architect, Bill, Dan is choosing which play to call. And I highly doubt Johnny Moe is the architect of the whole entire thing.
He is not the architect because it's the same offense they've run under Ben Johnson ever since Anthony Lynn left. And the architect of this offense, quite frankly, is Dan Campbell. I mean, we saw it yesterday. And
the secondary question I want to ask is, do you think Johnny Moe knew this was just for a year to keep a seat warm?
Well, Johnny Moe, this is the biggest elevation he's had since he was the New York Jets offensive coordinator for 1 year. He does come from that Sean Payton tree. And that's the same tree that Campbell comes from, you know, when you talk about coaching trees and all that. I don't know. I think Johnny Moe thought it would be better, but I knew his goose was cooked when he started making apologies publicly to J-Mo and to Isaac Tesla.
It was odd, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was odd. I don't think Ben Johnson would have ever done something like that.
No, Ben Johnson apologized for nothing ever. And so talking about the game, I mean, the key things that I saw, Chet, and that I'm sure our listeners saw as well, was the pre-snap motions were back. The misdirection was back.
Yep.
And the offensive line looked dominant. And when we get to our game balls, I'll talk a little bit about some of those individuals. And this is a game, Chet, where we had a really beat up Taylor Decker, a really, really beat up Penei Sewell, Graham Glasgow leaving for a few plays. Sewell left for a few days to get his knee retaped.
Awasika on the field the whole time. I mean, we didn't have our starting left guard. I don't know how much that mattered.
I think Awasika's a huge upgrade over Mahogany.
I think he might be.
And I think his starting position is secure for now. He was the difference, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I'm only given one game ball, and that's the game ball I'm given.
I wonder if Awasika versus Mahogany was more or less we are more invested in Mahogany from a draft pick standpoint, so we're playing him to give him every chance to succeed. Do you believe in that type of thing or no?
Not necessarily. I think it's just a function of, you asked me a few pods back what happened in the Minnesota game and is it all Johnny Moe's fault? And I said no, you can't execute the offense.
Sure.
But I think the most telling point in the game was late in the fourth quarter, Jared Goff, after he was pulled, walked over to Dan Campbell and kind of like punched him in the shoulder. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, it was a nice little moment.
Well, in the presser, guess what he said to him? You still have it as a play caller. And so
that's good. Well,
can I tell you what I
Yeah.
am hearing happened? And this is through Dave Burkett and some others. What I think happened is Jared Goff pulled Dan Campbell aside, or they had a one-on-one over coffee. And Jared said it's not working with Johnny Moe.
yeah.
The pre-snap reads aren't there, the adjustments. The biggest thing that frustrated me and you and our listeners in the Vikings game was the lack of adjustments. Brian Flores runs the same blitzes until you stop it, and Johnny Moe couldn't do anything.
Well,
with
it
that.
seemed very much like the Vikings and anyone watching this game with a measure of an understanding of football could almost predict where at least our run plays were going, to the point where we were not fooling them in the least. This past game looked completely different to me. I would sit there and try to figure out, okay, we're going to run it left here. We're going to run it right here. The misdirection was back. The motion misdirection was back, but also the running misdirection. We ran a few more counters. We ran a few more plays that were disguised better. And the combination of plays, the succession of plays was better. The mix was better.
Cadence was unreal. And
Cadence was so much better.
if you're smoking your last cigarette before a firing line in a backworlds, third world, Central American country, bet that the Lions are going to run behind Penei Sewell because that's what they like to do most of the time. He is just a mauler. And my favorite moment of the game is he had to leave to get his knee retaped. They're halfway through retaping his knee. The Lions score a touchdown, and he runs out to celebrate with everybody after the touchdown.
He wasn't leaving.
Scored.
He wasn't going anywhere if he didn't have to. And Glasgow debated. He was petitioning to get back on the field likewise after his injury. He was on the sideline angry that he wasn't out there.
Well, I think after what they saw with Christian Mahogany is that nobody's seat is safe on that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question now. Johnny Moe's probably out. Do you have any names for us in terms of offense? Because I've got two for you right now.
If you've got a name, throw it out there. I do not. So I would have said, we lost so much from that side of the ball. Taylor went to Jets, right? Taylor Ingstrom went to the Jets. Ben Johnson goes to the Bears. So we lost not only the first level, the OC, we lost the depth piece under that. So I would have promoted Ingstrom if he was going to stick around, but he didn't. So you see the hole we were in trying to find a replacement at OC right off the bat because you don't even have the understudy anymore. Now, would I go get Ingstrom from the Jets and bring him back to the Lions? If he would, he wants to get out of that disaster that is the New York Jets right now. But I'm not 100% sure he's the guy either because he can't seem to fix the Jets either. So who...
Are the Jets fixable?
Well, they don't have the talent, right?
I'm going to give you...
This is a plum job for an OC because you've got talent, which also tells me that, Johnny Moe isn't the guy because he can't get it humming with the talent we got out there.
Exactly. He's making apologies at pressers trying to figure out how to get everybody the ball. All right. I've got three names for you.
So I don't have a guy, but who you have?
One's in-house, and he's the longtime quarterback coach, and I think he's due. The question is whether he wants to or not. And from everything I'm reading and understanding, his family is grown to the point that meaning he doesn't have to coach kids sports anymore.
Sure.
Mark Brunell, former NFL quarterback, former University of Washington Husky great, is my in-house name. And then I've got two guys that are currently employed, one of whom we saw yesterday, but I don't expect to be employed at the end of the season. And I want to see, of these three, I kind of want you to force rank them after I say who excites you the most and who excites you the least.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel's my next name. He's not coming back to Miami. He's going to coach out the season. He's young. He's an offensive wizard. But everywhere he's been, that controversy follows. And I don't know that he and Goff or MCDC would be simpatico. The third name I have for you, and I don't like this one at all, but I don't want to tee it up for you too much, is Cliff Kingsbury. He's an offensive genius, but it seems like in the NFL level, they figure him out year 2 to year 3. Those are my three names for you, and I went through all 32. The only other one that I can come up with, I'll bring up at a later pod.
Well, you got Cliff Kingsbury, who's dependent on whether he leaves Washington.
Well, I don't think he's going to be asked back. They're going to
You don't
have
think
to
he's
make.
going to be asked back? You think that he's done? They're going to have to make somebody a sacrificial lamb for this season?
Well, they've lost 5 straight, Chet.
Yeah.
Now they're flying to Madrid to face the red-hot Dolphins, who smoked the Bills at home.
And McDaniels doesn't strike me as the guy for this regime. Not that he wouldn't be a good OC. I'm not saying that. I just don't know if he's a fit for our crew here. I kind of like the Mark Brunell call. And I think it's more because he's an unknown quantity. And maybe, he might have really high upside for being great. Like you said, Kingsbury, we kind of know what we get there.
Yeah.
I don't know if but with the talent we've got, what can he do? Maybe there's something there for that. I don't know.
I've got a hot name for you, but I think he's going to hold out for a head coaching job. He does come from the Saints coaching tree, so he fits the bill, and he's tearing it up right now out in Seattle, and that's Clint Kubiak, the son of Gary Kubiak.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think he is going to take the Lions OC job, because right now the Seahawks are sitting on top of the NFC. If they get home field advantage, that's going to be a tough place.
I mean, the way I think of this is like a springboard. If you're good at your OC gig, the Lions are a springboard to head coaching. I mean, look at what they did with the previous understudy in the OC. Like, those guys just vaulted up a whole slot within a season or two. I think Mark Brunell would be a fun.
Okay, good.
And a known quantity too. Like, I don't think Goff would be in opposition of that, if that makes any sense.
No,
But just remember, 3 weeks ago, we thought Johnny Moe was the answer to Ben Johnson, and we were fine with him. So these things change real fast. Not for long, right, NFL?
We've already said that our picks are always not great either.
Yeah, we haven't done a great job prognosticating with this season, and it has been a little bit of a variable result in comparison to the previous 2 years. So we're not as predictable right now, which is maybe that's a good thing to be not predictable. At any rate, did anybody leave the game? Did we have any injuries this past week that were of note?
We've got a big one, and this is going to be tough to replace. Okay. Terrion Arnold left with a concussion in the second quarter.
Okay.
And, I mean, concussion protocol is a strange thing. You don't know if he's going to come back. Point in case, our guy Eddie Goldman in the preview, he didn't clear concussion protocol and didn't play for the Commanders in this game. So with that, what I am going to say is that's the biggest loss, because we still don't know if Kirby Joseph's knee is going to be good enough to go against the Eagles. And then we can talk about the offensive line being banged up. Decker, Sewell, and Glasgow all left at different times, but all came back. What was nice about the end of the game was we actually got to see an Kyle Allen sighting. And
Kyle got it a little time.
He used to be a Commander as well.
Yeah.
The only thing that upset me was that David Montgomery was still out there.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that one out. Like, Baki did end up getting some time at the end of that game. They did pull Montgomery off the field. I think they wanted to maybe help Monty pad his stats a little bit or something there. Did you get any humor out of watching Dan Skipper line up out wide right? Did you see that play?
Yes.
When he actually feigned running a route?
I'm
not 100% sure what that was there to set up. It was.
Do you know that was the moment that I went to Twitter and started following, my feed? And that's when Dave Burkhead and like some of the other, beat writers are like, Dan Campbell's calling the plays, because Johnny Moe would never
throw that out there.
Yeah,
but it was fun. I imagine that's probably what I would look like running a route right now with all the pads and everything. I was like, oh, that's probably what I look like.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple statistics.
Give us some stats.
Yeah, so the Lions have had 7 500-yard plus games since 2022, which is by far the most in the NFL. The runners-up or bridesmaids would be the Ravens and Dolphins with 4 apiece. Gibbs now has, and this is before, he going into the game had 39 TDs at the age of 24, which tied him for the lead with Christian McCaffrey and Rob Gronkowski Gronk's, if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he will be, and same with McCaffrey. So Gibbs is on a great trajectory, and then he goes out and runs for 2 touchdowns and catches a touchdown. So now he's at 42. So, and then last thing, Dan Campbell needs to wear the glasses all the time. I don't know why. He just looks like a different coach when he does. That I know that's not really a stat, but that was just kind of a fun one to throw in. Goff has 113 touchdown passes since 2022, clear and away leading the league. And then Amen St. Brown, the sun god, has 1,500-yard games since 2023, which also puts him atop. So last thing I want to say on stats, the Lions need to keep winning the toss because the tone was set for this game when they won the toss and deferred Chet. They forced the Commanders to go 3 and out, then marched down the field 10 plays, scored a touchdown, and the game felt like it was out of reach for the Commanders ever after.
Feel like when we get out ahead of a team, the game's out of reach 90% of the time. I mean, this offense is built to play with a little bit of a lead. And they can make a little bit of a lead seem like a lot of lead. Mm-hmm. Like 7 points can seem like an eternity to catch up. And when we don't come out and get that lead right off the bat, and we become a little more predictable, the play action doesn't work. We don't run it as much. Now, that's been the last 8 weeks under Johnny Moe. Maybe now that Dan's in there, he'll be a little more stubborn and say, I don't care if we're down, we're running the ball. I don't know. I'm not sure if you'll see that difference or that change. But we weren't down at all yesterday, so we didn't really get to see him get pinned into a situation. But either way, it was more like the old reliable, comfortable offense that we knew and grew to love over the last couple seasons yesterday.
The moment that the game truly was put out of reach is when the Lions scored the 3rd touchdown and Deron Payne, the huge defensive tackle, and possibly one of the best players that the Commanders have, gets into a
punched St. Brown in the face, basically. Just wound up and punched him in the face. I don't know what St. Brown said. I haven't read the reports. I know there's a couple of them out there right now, but apparently he said something and Deron Payne just lit him up. And it was, I mean, he got tossed. He was done after that.
And then the ironic part was that then the Lions decided to go for 2, which I don't know if they were going to anyway. And then they got it. And at that point, the game was certainly out of reach.
I don't know if they were going for 2 due to some mathematical thing. I don't know of a mathematical situation that says when you're 20-3, go for 2. I don't know if it was just to kind of throw it back in their face or they had a reason for doing that. But it was interesting to see him go for 2 there. And then they got it.
And I owe you and our listeners an apology. Eddie Goldman did dress, but was extremely limited. So he did clear concussion protocol. He had 2 tackles, 1 solo, but clearly wasn't a difference maker.
I don't think it mattered.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about fantasy.
Yeah.
And our upcoming opponent. The Lions travel to the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia to face the Eagles, who are playing, as we do this pod, they're playing the Packers tonight. And basically, this is what I think is the toughest game remaining on the Lions schedule. You could maybe argue the game at SoFi, but that's pretty much a dome as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And the Lions always get up to play Stafford. This is going to be outdoors. We don't know what the weather's going to be like because it's 6 days away. It is the Sunday night game. We get the NBC crew, so you're going to get a healthy dose of Chris Collinsworth and his shameless promotions for his company, Pro Football Focus. Chet, do you want me to give you kind of the early lines on this and maybe you can echo in, or how do you want to approach this?
Give me the early lines. I'm curious to hear where we're at with a point spread, a total. This is one of those games I don't see us winning.
Yeah, Chet and I feel a little differently.
No matter where we're at here, but
well, you're going to feel better after I tell you what Vegas thinks.
Okay.
The line has opened. Now, mind you, the Eagles have not played, so we don't know injuries and all that. But the Lions are getting 1.5. So basically, I'm not going to say it's a pick 'em, but it's as close to a pick 'em as you're going to get in the NFL. The over-under is 48.5, so they don't expect it to be a high-scoring affair. And if you did want to take the money line, the Lions are even money. So that tells me that Vegas is begging you to take the Lions on this.
Sure.
We'll see how that line moves when we do our preview on this. But overall, I'm taking an optimistic approach. What I do think is odd, Chet, is the Lions have had the most bizarre schedule this year, and it's not the first place schedule. It's that they played in succession at Baltimore, Cleveland at home, at Cincinnati. That's 3 opponents from an AFC division, the AFC North. In this sequence, they are playing at Washington, at Philadelphia, New York Giants at home, Packers Thanksgiving, then the Cowboys at home. They're 3 of 4 against the NFC East.
And they're playing them all in a row.
Yeah, which is
just
bizarre. Yeah.
Why not speckle them out there a little bit?
Now, the good news is the NFC East should be called the NFC least right now. Outside of the Eagles at 6-2, everybody else is reeling, including the Cowboys defense. The Bears overcame a 10-point deficit at Soldier Field yesterday to beat the Giants, who have now lost 11 straight on the road. So there's reason for optimism. That is where we're coming in at in terms of kind of looking forward to next week. I agree you have every reason to be skeptical, and I know that my optimism probably shouldn't be there, but if the line had opened, let's say 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, Chet, I'd probably be whistling a different tune. Vegas tries to get equal money on either side. And what they're saying is they see this game probably coming down to...
I think it's going to be close.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 24-21, 24-22, something to that extent.
I can see that.
And when it comes down to this, Chet, here's what I'm going to give you my 3 keys to it.
Okay.
1, I think the Lions have a better head coach. I know Nick Sirianni's won a Super Bowl. I know Dan Campbell hasn't, but I trust Dan Campbell more than I trust Nick Sirianni. 2, I trust Jared Goff more than I trust Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And then my other 2 aspects, I'm going to give a push on one and then the clear advantage elsewhere to the Eagles. And that would be offensive line. The Eagles are going to be better. Edge rush and pass rush, I'm giving the edge to the Lions thus far. Aiden Hutchinson is playing like a man possessed this year. He is creating havoc every time.
He's making plays.
Brian Branch had 2 sacks yesterday and Marcus Mariota. Both were set up by Hutch getting double teamed and destroying the offensive line of the Commanders.
And my only question mark is our defensive backfield and the rest of our pass rush. So if they are dialing up a pass rush using guys like Branch to get through the seams there, I feel like Hutch is doing 50% of the work on the defense right now, and the rest of these guys are just running around out there a little bit. Jack Campbell's had a decent go of it.
Yeah, I was going to say
Barnes has had a game or 2 here or there. I'm not going to take all the credit away from these guys. Anzalone's been kind of missing in action at times. Branch has had his games, but he's also, ever since his suspension, he's been a little... I don't know, not MIA. He finally came back today.
Gun shy.
Finally came back this weekend and had a good game. But our defensive backfield is just a mess. It's wrecked right now. We cannot do man coverage to save our lives at this point.
Is what Kelvin Shepard, the defensive coordinator, loves to do. And so I will give a key to the game if we can circle back to injuries. If Kirby Joseph doesn't play, it creates a huge hole for the Lions. I agree with you 100%. Branch can't be in the box, can't be, blitzing. He needs to stay at home. And we can't, I know you made fun of him earlier and I kind of defended him, but we can't have Arthur Mallett and Amik Robertson out on islands alone because... No,
we can't. They're not good man coverage guys. They just aren't.
He got abused yesterday by... This one didn't make my radar.
I know. The name change...
Robbie Anderson is now Robbie Chosen.
Robbie Chosen.
Welcome.
I know. I heard that in the broadcast. I'm like, that's who that guy is.
I was like,
I recognize his face. I'm like, okay.
I had the Commanders roster up on my iPad, and I had to look up who Robbie Chosen was.
Were a crew of nobodies, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, Robbie Anderson's still floating around out there.
Well, then I was like, he's still in the NFL.
But here's the thing, Bill. We gave up 22 points to that offense.
I know.
That was missing key cogs, and Marcus Mariota is starting, which I get it. Mariota's not a bad fit. He's a great backup. I'd love to have him on the Lions as a backup quarterback, to be honest with you.
He's better than Kyle Allen.
Yeah, no kidding. So there's a lot there to sort of unpack for the defense that I just didn't like seeing them give up 22. And there were times when the Commanders seemed to be able to just shred us if they wanted to. And it was very confusing. There were times when they seemed like they couldn't move the ball. And then there were times when they seemed like, all you got to do is pass it downfield and we're going to complete the pass and we'll be in great shape. And they did. They did it quite a few times. So I think our offense kept them off the field is what I really think ended up happening in the end. They we played defense with our offense.
Do you think, I think if it were a college game, there'd be more concern, Chet. But the fact is, when you're up 22-3 at an opponent's stadium, and the broadcasters mentioned this as well, and I'm not giving them any credit. Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma were their bad selves again.
Yeah.
But they said that it was 45% Lion fans there. And every time they showed the crowd, it was pretty full of Lions fans. It's got to be disheartening for the Commanders knowing that, that's now 5 straight losses. The season's lost. They were the darlings of the NFL last year.
They're a wounded program right now, right? And you can tell me that they want to play for Mariota all you can want. I'm sorry, but they're not a good team at the moment. And like you said, they're coming down off quite the high. I just, it's great we beat them. We needed the win, but I don't have faith in our trip to Philly at this point. I know it's been a little bit of a bummer, but until our defense can right the ship a little and show me something, I don't have a ton of confidence in keeping other teams off the board. So maybe it's a track meet in Philly. You say low score. Vegas says low score. I don't know. I'm not going to give my prediction yet. I'm going to wait a little bit on this week and see. I want to see how Green Bay handles Philly tonight on Monday Night Football. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. So I only have one final thought since we're not doing predictions, and this is just game ball. I think we already talked about who we gave it to, and I just for having to fill in for an injured Christian Mahogany. He did a whale of a job. I know a game ball shoot.
You like him. You like it.
Well, I liked how he performed. I mean,
he did well. He definitely was not a weak link on the line. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And aside from that, Goff played a great game. Gibbs was amazing. And JMO, welcome back. That was quite the performance all the way around. And then on the defensive side, Branch and Hutch would probably be the only guys, maybe Campbell, that I'd give a nod to. You're right. Guys are flying around out there, but they're not making as much of an impact as we'd like.
And can we fix our special teams too, please? The kick return.
I know.
What a disaster. We had a couple more bad kick return coverage. Jake Bates is making tackles out in the open field to save touchdowns. I know. What's going on, Mr. Phipp? Can we get that all
We need Dave to
righted?
Course correct that. All right, my final thought is this. Best end zone dance of the day, and there were plenty to go around. The sun god pointing to the president of the United States.
He did the Trump.
He did the Trump. I mean,
that was much to many people's chagrin, and I don't think he was doing it to pay homage. I think he was doing it more to just sort of maybe shed light on the scenario or mock the scenario. I don't know if that's right, but yeah, it was a funny dance, and more people than just him. I think pretty sure Debo did the same thing, if I'm not mistaken. So when he scored, so they were all doing the dance yesterday. At any rate,
all right, go Lions! Please listen to our sister podcast, the Detroit Tigers Litter Box. We've started free agency and doing some previews on that. And with that, we'll bid you a good day. We'll see how Monday Night Football shakes out, and then we'll talk to you again before the Eagles.
Go Lions.